The Farm Journal Legacy Project presents Leave a Legacy. And now, your host, Kevin Spafford.
Welcome to Leave a Legacy. Over the past 3 years, this show has profiled families and visited with leaders whose collective experience spans more than 100 generations. In producing the show, we visited every corner of the country and found it bounding with agricultural success. But most of all, the show is about you. It is designed to showcase your story and share the keys to lasting success. It's about good communication, common goals, and taking action. Succession is about leaving a legacy. Clinton Griffiths is going to guide us through a collection of the most memorable moments from Leave a Legacy.
Over the past couple of years, Leave a Legacy has traveled to every corner of the country.
Did you ever get the boom fixed?
From a fruit stand in Florida to the fields of Maryland. From northern Montana's Golden Triangle to the irrigated farms in the Valley of Arizona and all along the West Coast.
Dale got ya.
In every case, we found the story of family, of sacrifice, and a desire to see the family business continue to leave a legacy.
We've berated them with stories of all the different generations. They know where the original homestead is, and they love the farm life, the running around outdoors, and hopefully that's something that they'll instill in their children.
Most of my farm happens in the fall, where I drive the grain cart for my dad. And it's a big responsibility because I'm driving a 100,000 pound tractor with a cogger cart when it's loaded. So it's a big responsibility.
Oh yeah, he wants to be a farmer / race car driver.
Okay.
And he has goals. He wants to race hard and make money racing and then buy more farmland, and he wants to be a big farm operator like his dad.
I've always loved this farm. My dad was always inspired me to farm. And you know, when I get older, I want to take over the farm, and at the same time I want to race. So my goals are to race in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, but at the same time own a successful farm operation.
Whether it's race car drivers or a family of pilots, each operation brings its own unique perspective and slice of history.
Good morning, Washington Milk Company.
This budding business is run by the five brothers Rusin, a family with flowering roots.
And if you go to the books in Holland, you will see that the legacy of tulip growing in the Rusin family goes back to the early 1700s.
The farm was started back in 1950 when William Rusin, the youngest of four boys, and his wife Helen came to Washington State from Holland. After struggling through labor-intensive odd jobs, William scraped together a place of his own.
And then slowly he got a few acres, got a few bulbs from Holland, and he started a little bit on his own.
And it was tough. Even in 55 and 56, that winter, for example, almost everything froze.
We were thinking about natural and organic production long before it was in.
Much of that philosophy goes back to the former owner, Walter Ralphs. Jim Rickert met him years ago while on a cattle buying tour.
And about 6 months later, he called me up and said, I don't know if you remember me, but my name's Walter Ralphs, and I have this ranch. And I said, oh, I remember it. And he said, well, I'm not real happy with the way it's been operating. I've had it about 16 years, and would you consider taking a look at it with me and meet me and talk about it? And one thing led to another, and he asked us to operate the ranch.
Ralphs bought the place back in the mid-1960s, but Prather Ranch carries a long and rich history. It's named for the Prather family who owned the operation back in the 1800s. They ran cattle and raised horses for the Spanish-American War. Now Jim and Mary are getting a turn.
In hindsight, I was, just a little about 30 years old, and to have him take us on and say, here it is, I'm going to put, I think he put $250,000 in the bank account for us and said, here's the properties, don't expect any more money from me, see what you can do.
We get so many compliments on our lettuce, how sweet it is and how good it is.
Robert Moling is the Robert behind Robert is Here. This little roadside market is a big attraction among tourists and locals looking for unique, great-tasting fruits, vegetables, milkshakes, and so much more.
We're people loving to deal with people.
But Robert wasn't always here. His family moved to the Sunshine State from the outskirts of Chicago. And in 1959, at the age of 6, his father, a farmer with 10 acres, found himself in a financial pinch.
My family was dirt poor. No matter what they did on the farm, they just couldn't get their head above water.
They had 400 bushels of cucumbers to sell, and no markets were buying.
What he did was put me, as a 6-year-old kid, right where my store is now, and put me out with a big table full of field crates on top, a piece of plywood on top of them, dumped the cucumbers on top of them. I sat there all day long, and absolutely nobody stopped.
After debating why, his father thought maybe nobody saw him. So the next day, he took 2 storm shutters and spray painted "Robert is here" and sat Robert down to try again. He sold out.
I started making money, and the family started doing better, and I started getting a little repeat trade. It was just amazing.
Many amazing beginnings, combined with some emotional moments, seep through these tales of toil and tumult.
It'll bail. It'll bail. Dad and I get along really well when we're not working together.
When you get that big family, that big extended family, you have so many different personalities and you have so many different opinions, and we're an opinionated family.
With 36 grandkids in the family and roughly half that many just between them, passing this business on is stacking up to be the biggest challenge lying ahead.
We struggled with this, and we're struggling with it.
You want to know what my legacy is? I've sent my kids to work somewhere else.
Why?
It is what it's, this is going to be legacy for a few.
There's too much family, and I don't think, it's not I love my job, and I love being here, but it's a struggle.
We will get there. We will get there, but you know, it's going to take tremendous, it's going to be the hardest thing we ever did.
I was really sitting in Fat City when '92 came and Hurricane Andrew hit.
Hurricane Andrew, a storm that did millions upon millions of dollars worth of damage in the state of Florida. At Robert's farm, the 200-mile-per-hour wind did its best to strip him of a lifetime of work.
Andrew took out everything. Took out all the farms, all the trees, my barns, my tractors, my pump, my irrigation. It's ripped the windows and the doors off my house, destroyed everything in the house.
But while Andrew ripped apart his business, it was what happened 8 days earlier that tore into his soul.
Well, I went in to put a tag on her car. I put the little sticker on her car, and I jumped in the back door to shoot the breeze with Mom, and she wasn't at her chair.
He found her a few steps away beneath an overturned couch, his biggest supporter murdered in her own home.
I heard someone screaming, and I was the only one in the room. It was just a bizarre, this is a bizarre feeling.
In just over a week, he had lost the 2 things he loved most. But Robert, a man of resolve, went back to work. In 4 weeks, he reopened.
You can't overcome, It was drastic. I wouldn't want anybody to go through it, and I don't want to go through it again, but it can be done.
And who can forget the secession plans of the Dell family from northern Maryland?
I had in my head the plan of how I thought it was going to go, and now it's...
Tough words for any father to say out loud. His son Tommy Dell died in September of 2010 in a tragic accident during harvest after his equipment came in contact with overhead power lines.
I think about him all the time. It's weird.
I don't know. I don't know if you ever put that in your head that your child's going to go before you.
I guess everybody struggles a little bit in their own way. And I guess my biggest concern is Greg and Della. And as far as the business goes, is Greg, because I think he looked to Tommy for the future.
Life's experiences, not always pleasant, not always easy, but put in perspective, whether it's wheat, dairy cows, olives, or produce, it's what you do with those experiences that makes a mark.
They're what makes everything worth everything.
If I look back over the time and the times that we were marketing below our cost of production, where the times when we went to the bank with an unstable balance sheet, and the times when our crops didn't produce and we had some problems, the success was that we're still here.
For Leave a Legacy, I'm Clinton Griffiths reporting.
Pioneer Hybrid proudly continues its legacy of supporting America's farm families by sponsoring the Farm Journal Legacy Project.
The things you need to protect don't always come with a timeline. If your personal goal is to make sure your family farm stays in the family, you need to know where to turn for advice. DuPont Pioneer proudly supports the Farm Journal Legacy Project, a valuable resource for your succession planning and your children's future. The family farm is alive and well. Pass it on.
More often than not, the best solutions are the simple ones. When it comes to corn refuge, simple is better. Simple is here. DuPont Pioneer revolutionized simple with the broadest lineup of refuge management products. Better choices. Make it simple. Refuge Simplified by DuPont Pioneer.
It's all about simplicity, so you don't have to work so hard, you know.
He does all the planting, and what he always complained about it with this refuge, it was so much work all the time.
I don't like planting a separate refuge.
It was my perfect opportunity to buy the right seed, so I didn't have to listen to him complain no more.
Anything simple, that's what I like. I'm Terry Erickson.
I'm Ed Erickson Jr., and we're from Milner, North Dakota.
It's so much easier. Just having a good time while you're planting.
Simply Better Forage. Advanced agronomic and nutritional expertise. More efficient rations through industry-leading corn silage hybrids, alfalfa varieties, and inoculants. It's what you need to get more from your fields, and ultimately, more from your cows. That's Simply Better Forage. Only from DuPont Pioneer.
As you watch these clips, pay close attention to the words of legacy. Producers often talk of passing their heritage, values, and lifestyle to the family. Legacy consists of far more than tax strategies and legal options.
You know, a lot of people say, well, why would you want your children to come into agriculture? As tough as it is, the challenges that face you, you know, you don't want to make a lot of money. But you know, the way of life has a value. You know, to me, it has a value. And you can add that to the dollars, and sometimes it becomes a wealthy attitude, atmosphere, everything, you know. And if you like the outdoors, if you're challenged by different things every day, and that gets your adrenaline running, well, then that's sure what you want to do.
What kind of legacy did your father leave you? And I said, I'll tell you what, one of the greatest legacies anybody can leave, and that is to build character, integrity, honesty, and willingness to go to work and work hard.
It is about succession, but it's also, it's not just succession of the family business. It's succession of the family. We really are committed to remaining a family in farming.
All in all, I'm probably one of the luckiest guys in the world. I'm getting to do what I love to do, and I'm able to build up something that I can pass down to my kids. I think it's a good life out here, and I believe that that's something that if he's willing to get involved, I'm going to definitely stand behind him and hope that he does want to get involved in the operation. I'm not doing this just for myself. I'm doing this to someday pass on to him and other generations down the road.
The things you need to protect don't always come with a timeline. If your personal goal is to make sure your family farm stays in the family, you need to know where to turn for advice. DuPont Pioneer proudly supports the Farm Journal Legacy Project, a valuable resource for your succession planning and your children's future. The family farm is alive and well. Pass it on.
At DuPont Pioneer, we're with you every step of the way. Our accelerated yield technology system combines agronomic and defensive traits with elite genetics. Planted on more acres than any other brand, Pioneer delivers total soybean performance.
It's tough out here. But so are Optimum Aquamax corn hybrids from DuPont Pioneer. Performance and productivity under drought stress. Huh. Hot enough for you? Optimum Aquamax hybrids deliver, rain or shine. Only from DuPont Pioneer.
It's easy to use. Your planting windows are so small in the spring. We're able to put it in the planter and plant out the field. We don't have to make sure the planter's empty to make sure we don't have any more refuge corn in the planter. Our corn is looking really good. That's a tough thing to say in a year like this. It's a family-run business. I've been farming all my life, been here. We were born and raised here. I'm Nels Kobush from Wabasca, Minnesota.
No matter the challenge, the ability to lead is the capability to overcome and succeed. Listen as these leaders share their views on leadership, the next generation, and the future.
It's a lot different than it was, 20 years ago when my dad was doing this and my uncles were doing this. But technology in the IT world has allowed us to be in communication virtually anywhere in the globe. I was in Moscow a few years ago on a big trade trip, and had phone service and email service, and whether it's Moscow or Vietnam or Washington, D.C., I'm pretty close.
But your uncle said you still have to make a shadow in the field.
You still got to make a shadow in the field, and so when I'm home, I'm there, and that's important. But somebody in the family is making a shadow in the field daily.
Give me, if your kids were standing right here, what one rule would you give them? What one thing would you just say, this is the secret to life, the secret to success, the secret to business?
It's the easiest question to answer on earth.
Okay.
And they've forgotten to teach it in these palaces of education for business and life. It's 3 rules.
Okay.
3 words: honesty, integrity, and hard work.
I'm already here. I can have some of that daily input, but on the flip side of that, maybe some of those things that have already instilled in him or he's observed in me, there's some some mentoring that needs to happen that he's not seeing with his dad. There are 2 kinds of people. There's lumpers and splitters, and I think I'd probably volunteer and say that I'm a splitter. I think everybody in my family would probably say that I'm a splitter because I like to see the detail, and if there's a decision to be made, I'm often probably going to go and look at more detail as opposed to, I think, overall, we'll lump things together and make a decision based on this. I like to see the detail. Somewhat to the point of my daughter-in-law saying I might be too much. We want to maintain the quality of where we live. So that's our goal, is to treat the land correctly, properly, keep that resource there, and just do what we can as good steward of the land.
The things you need to protect don't always come with a timeline. If your personal goal is to make sure your family farm stays in the family, you need to know where to turn for advice. DuPont Pioneer proudly supports the Farm Journal Legacy Project, a valuable resource for your succession planning and your children's future. The family farm is alive and well. Pass it on.
At DuPont Pioneer, we're with you every step of the way. Our accelerated yield technology system combines agronomic and defensive traits with elite genetics. Planted on more acres than any other brand, Pioneer delivers total soybean performance.
It's tough out here. But so are Optimum Aquamax corn hybrids from DuPont Pioneer. Performance and productivity under drought stress. Huh. Hot enough for you? Optimum Aquamax hybrids deliver, rain or shine. Only from DuPont Pioneer.
It's easy to use. Your planting windows are so small in the spring. We're able to put it in the planter and plant out the field. We don't have to make sure the planter's empty to make sure we don't have any more refuge corn in the planter. Our corn is looking really good. That's a tough thing to say in a year like this. It's a family-run business. I've been farming all my life, been here. We were born and raised here. I'm Nels Kobush from Wabasca, Minnesota.
I think the biggest challenge is going to be making sure that the family aspect of it doesn't change, because we're a very close family. We all get along great, and things are good. And I think, I'm not sure that's necessarily going to be a big challenge, but probably to me the most important one.
Doing it the right way, where the sons will understand, appreciate what they've got, and to look past them to the grandkids and their grandkids is maybe more important to me, so that the farm will live on.
It's how do we keep this business going? How do they provide employment to the people that are here? How do we care for the environment we have here? How do all these things, what's this going to be like 100 years from now? What's my responsibility, Mary's responsibility to this? I mean, we feel a responsibility to it.
I think we looked at what we had and decided that it had a potential of growing quite a little. We didn't know how much or how fast, but we did think it could happen, and that it wouldn't. We ought to incorporate our kids one day. That's what living is all about.
You know, really, if you are happy with what you have achieved, the way you get to live your life every day. For me, I get to come to a beautiful facility. I get to be surrounded by my family, who I love. I get to sell and talk to people, which I love, and I make a decent living, enough to be happy.
Keys to success are a result of hard work and of a lot of help of a lot of people. You know what? There's a little bit of luck involved too. You have to have the right plan. I think planning ahead is important. Surround yourself with the right people and point them in the right direction, and talk about keys. Give them the key sometimes is important too. Let them make their own successes or failures. And he bought an airplane, started flying, and he built up his time and worked through his different ratings. And then when he was ready to start flying ag, we had a 301, which is a piston-driven air tractor. Let him start flying that, and helped him out for the first year. Then he helped us some, and also flew back home in Illinois. He farms about 2,000 acres. So he's been a real encouragement to me to be able to help somebody that help him fulfill his dream. And that was my goal.
Essentially, young people have to be willing to change, but not change just for change's sake. And that's a very fine line. They have to think outside the box, look at new ideas, gain new experiences, but they can't just, I'm going to come back and upside down everything that's been done. It's a very gradual process of trying to really think about where we are in agriculture. So the skills they need, critical thinking, the ability to work with others, the ability to think about new ideas, but also the ability to respect where we've been.
It's all about simplicity, so you don't have to work so hard, you know.
He does all the planting, and what he always complained about it with this refuge, it was so much work all the time.
I don't like planting a separate refuge.
It was my perfect opportunity to buy the right seed, so I didn't have to listen to him complain no more.
Anything simple, that's what I like. I'm Terry Erickson.
I'm Ed Erickson Jr., and we're from Milner, North Dakota.
It's so much easier, and it's having a good time while you're planting.
Simply Better Forage. Advanced agronomic and nutritional expertise. More efficient rations through industry-leading corn silage hybrids, alfalfa varieties, and inoculants. It's what you need to get more from your fields, and ultimately, more from your cows. That's Simply Better Forage. Only from DuPont Pioneer.
The things you need to protect don't always come with a timeline. If your personal goal is to make sure your family farm stays in the family, you need to know where to turn for advice. DuPont Pioneer proudly supports the Farm Journal Legacy Project, a valuable resource for your succession planning and your children's future. The family farm is alive and well. Pass it on.
More often than not, the best solutions are the simple ones. When it comes to corn refuge, simple is better. Simple is here. DuPont Pioneer revolutionized simple with the broadest lineup of refuge management products. Better choices. Make it simple. Refuge Simplified by DuPont Pioneer.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Pioneer Hybrid, helping you get the right product on the right acre. Science with service, delivering success.
Our story is your story. We hope you've enjoyed viewing these segments as much as we've enjoyed bringing them to you. Succession will not happen without effort and a plan. Your future will be determined by the decisions you make and the actions you take. Decide now to create a legacy. I'm Kevin Spafford, helping you to leave a legacy.